And back here at home in America's election headquarters, GOP presidential candidate Newt Gingrich landing a major endorsement from the highly influential New Hampshire newspaper, the Manchester Union Leader. It is Gingrich's first big endorsement since his surge in the polls, and it suggests many say the former House Speaker could be some competition for Mitt Romney in the first-in-the-nation primary, seen as a must-win for Romney. David Drucker writes for the Capitol Hill newspaper. Roll call. David, good morning.
Good morning, Jamie.
How big a deal is this?
Well, I think for somebody like Newt, who's coming on and wants to be the not Romney, if you will, but the consensus not Romney, where everybody's been auditioning for that role, I think this is a boost to him because maybe it can help create the kind of momentum he needs to convince people to drop the other candidates and coalesce behind him. On the other hand, the Union Leader rarely picks the winner of the New Hampshire primary, so it might not mean much at the end of the day.
Well, this particular endorsement is in a state that's the first primary state. How much attention, and that's in January, how much attention do you think voters there will pay to this endorsement coming at this time?
Well, they'll pay some attention. This endorsement always gets a lot of publicity. It always gets a lot of play. The thing about newspaper endorsements is most voters don't really care what newspapers think. And look, I work for a newspaper, but they just don't tend to care. I think the only reason it could matter for Newt in particular is the timing. Nobody who has challenged Romney to get all of the other votes to be the conservative alternative to Romney has had any staying power. And maybe this is the kind of thing that can make people think that he is for real. He also needs to raise a lot of money and try and translate his surge in the polls into campaign strength on the ground, the nuts and bolts of campaigning. And maybe this helps him, but I don't think it should be overestimated either. Right,
it differs a little bit from the polls in New Hampshire that we've been looking at in terms of Newt being that far ahead. In fact, Mitt Romney's still doing very well. But let's take a look at specifically what they said, because I think the words chosen are very interesting. The paper in their endorsement says, "We don't back candidates based on popularity polls or big shot backers. We look for conservatives of courage and conviction who are independent-minded, grounded in their core beliefs about their nation and its people, and best equipped for the job." Now, they do admit that there are certain things that Newt did when he was Speaker of the House that they may have questions about, but they feel he's in the best position to get in there and get the job done the way the country sits right now. Do you agree with their assessment?
Well, I think there's certainly no more candidate that's no more knowledgeable or has a lifetime of experience as a conservative thinker, as a Republican thinker, if you will, than Newt Gingrich. Of all the candidates in the race, he's been in public life, in a sense, just about the longest. He clearly has flaws. There are many concerns from Republican circles that he's not electable, that maybe he'll beat Barack Obama in a debate, but he won't actually be able to win the election. He's often been polarizing. He could have trouble with the female vote, given his past, and he's not always the most likable guy in the world. So he may be, in a sense, the most consistent conservative out of the bunch running. That doesn't necessarily mean he can actually end up in office doing conservative things, because you have to win in order to then govern. And I think that's the big question with Newt, is can he overcome that hurdle?
What I think is so interesting is even former President Clinton came out in support of Newt Gingrich's position on illegal immigration, which he took a lot of heat for in the last week. He seems to be getting traction in a number of different areas. What does Mitt Romney need to do right now after this endorsement if he wants to maintain the lead that he's seen in many polls?
Well, I don't think Romney needs to do anything different. I think the thing about Romney is everybody knows everything about him. That's both a blessing and a curse. They know everything about him, so wherever he is in the polls, we're probably not going to learn something new that's going to sink him. On the other hand, they know everything about him, and he's only been around 20, 25, 26%. So I think what he has to do at some point, if Newt doesn't go away, is go on the attack. But otherwise, all he can be is who he is. Somebody with a good private sector business background, that's very appealing. People really believe he knows what to do about the economy. They have questions about his conservatism, his consistency, would he govern the way he campaigns, and beyond trying to reassure people that he would. There's not much he can do. I wouldn't overreact to this newspaper endorsement.
All right.
But I do think the race in New Hampshire will tighten, and he'll have to make adjustments down the stretch.
And we got a little bit of time to see what happens between now and January. Thanks so much, David. Great to see you.
You too. Thank you.
Eric.